What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Silver Screen Shenanigans podcast, where we sit down, watch a movie, and just talk about it. This is going to be a new series talking about the MCU, or the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in chronological order and not by when they were released. This movie was released in 2011, and it is called Captain America, the First Avenger. It stars Chris Evans, Tommy Lee Jones, Haley Atwell, some actors I can't remember the names of.
Yeah, I mean, it has, who is it? It has Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes and Hugo Weaving, I think that's how you pronounce it, as Red Skull. You said Tommy Lee Jones.
Yes.
And then Haley Atwell, I think you also said that. And then I think you already said Chris Evans.
So we're going to start out with
introduce
this.
Ourselves.
Yeah, probably.
It's been a little while.
It has been, yeah, over break. I am Devin.
And I'm Riley.
And today, you go.
We're the only two here today.
True.
So, and then today's question, I came up with it. I thought, if I had the opportunity to take the super soldier serum, but you only live until you're 40, would you take it? And honestly, I think I would, because at that point, you win every Olympic event. You become a millionaire, and then there's nothing to worry about. Like, there's nothing financially to worry about. All there is your loved ones. But
I thought they don't get paid for going to the Olympics.
You might not, but you get brand deals.
Brand deals. But you got to be good.
Dude, I'm a super soldier. I would be good.
So you wouldn't go to war?
I mean, if they needed me. I mean, they'd have to call me and be like, "Hey, dude, you're really good at throwing shot put. Want to go to war?"
Yeah, I probably would too, because even if you're only a 40, that's a hell of a life still, though, to have the super soldier serum.
I mean, us being like 20, 21.
Yeah, it's 20 years of just doing whatever you want.
Yeah.
And that answer alone, we should not get the serum. We definitely shouldn't.
I mean, I don't know. It could be.
Because
I mean, it's fun.
That means every Spider-Man movie just went right over our heads with greater power means great responsibility.
All right, but Olympics, though. You know?
But Olympics, though, and money.
You get a lot of free stuff at the Olympics.
You do. You get a lot of goodie bags and signing autographs and kissing babies.
Shaking hands and shaking babies. I mean, one of those.
So yeah, this is gonna be the in chronological order. This is technically the first one, Captain America, the First Avenger. This is gonna follow the story of Steve Rogers as he becomes Captain America. So we kind of open. I think it was in present day.
Yes.
We open in present day where some government organization, probably S.H.I.E.L.D.
They said the guys from the Capitol, which makes me believe it's like the government.
Yeah.
But it could really be anybody who just says it there.
And they're like, they're probably, I guess, Antarctica, maybe.
That's what they want you to believe.
Some big snowy place. And they see this ship that's been like crashed into the ice, and like they're exploring it. They straight up just cut a hole with a laser into the ship, which they don't know what they're cutting into.
Nobody ever learns from like alien movies. You don't cut holes into spaceships.
You could release all sorts of things. So they do a little exploring in there, and they don't go in there with like, I love it. They just go in there with no suit, no mask, and they're just touching everything. And they find this block of ice, and they swipe some of it off. It's like, hey, come look at this. And you see this, you see a star on what looks to be a circular, and it's red, white, and blue. And it's like,
they're like, call the minister, call the prime minister or whatever. And he's like,
probably gonna want to see this.
But it's 3 a.m. He's like, nah, this guy's been waiting long enough.
Get it? Because he's been
frozen for a lot.
So then we cut back to 1942 in Norway, and for those who don't know, 1942 over in Europe, World War II is happening, and there a lot of Europe is under Nazi siege, and it is no different in the film here, where we meet. I don't remember is it Hans, or I don't know what his name is in the movie.
I can't remember,
but we know him to be Red Skull, so I just call him Red Skull.
Yeah.
He shows up in like this big old tank machine thing, and they knock over a church, and they like kill this young dude, and they like beat the crap out of an old man, and they're searching for something. He's like searching for this power, and it is Schmidt. It is Johann Schmidt. It is kind of cool though, because IRL Nazis were super into archaeology and finding stuff, and like finding pathways to like different dimensions, talking to God. They wanted to go into all sorts of different things. They wanted to make a thing for time travel. So it's kind of cool that they're just kind of taking a little liberty with that and just having fun with it.
I never knew that. I didn't know that Nazis were into all that stuff.
Because it was to win the war, basically, to like find some power, but they obviously didn't find anything.
Yeah, they also did a lot of bad things.
Did a lot of bad things.
And then, so he gets into this church. They blow the entire door down with a tank.
Yeah. Kills a young dude, beats up an old man.
Yeah.
And when talking about he calls it, this is the first we hear of the Tesseract, and he mentions how Odin at one point had it. And so I totally forgot that, one, this is how the movie opened, and two, because it's been a while since I've watched all these movies like back to back to back. I totally forgot that Odin is mentioned like right off the bat in the MCU.
Which really like solidifies that the Norse gods are real in this.
Which is kind of fun because like in the comics, all gods of every single religion is real. So then it cuts to so Johann Schmidt kills the old man and takes the Tesseract. Yeah. Which is not good, because that thing has, which we'll later know is something else hidden within the cube, but they know it's unlimited power. They could power anything for any purpose. And the power,
if it touches somebody, they die. Explode.
And in the hands of the Nazis, that's not something you want. Then it cuts to Steve Rogers trying to. I think he's trying to like.
He got his fourth denial from the army.
Yeah,
they don't want him because he has asthma. He can't breathe. He just has this entire huge list of things that would kick you out of the military.
He's skinny. He's small. He's. And the CGI doesn't look terrible because it's Chris Evans' face on like a smaller guy's body.
Yeah.
I
mean, to me, it looks like the top of his head is bigger than the bottom.
Yeah.
So they probably like at the chin pushed the guy's face, or pushed Chris Evans' face onto the other guy.
Yeah.
Which they did really well with.
Yeah.
For 2011.
Oh, yeah. So Steve, like all he can talk about, all he can dream about is just wanting to enlist. He wants to fight. And we'll find out a little bit later why, but right now that's just kind of where he is. Like he's gone under different names, which is illegal. You can't register for the army under different names in different places.
You can't apply more than once.
You can, just you have to be under the same name.
Oh yeah.
But they'll, if they turn you down once, they'll turn you down again.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's probably why he did different names in different locations, but he still got turned down because of the list of like 20 things that like asthma and all that stuff.
And then we meet Bucky.
Yeah, Steve goes to a movie theater and he's like, these guys are yelling at the TV screen to get off the army dudes and go play the movie, and it's like, have some respect. And then the guys take Steve outside and one guy takes him outside and beats him up. And then we get the first time Steve says, "I can do this all day," which he's going to say it later, like throughout the series, and it's just going to be one of his best lines.
Yeah. And I mean, so then that's when Bucky comes in and pretty much saves him.
Yeah.
Because Steve's just absolutely being battered by these guys. And then Bucky steps in and is like, hey, stop it. Bucky being in the military now.
Right.
And Steve
he
not
got he was enlisted in the 107th Infantry, I think. 107 something.
106th, one of those two.
Yeah. And they both go to the World Fair, which is fun to see because you really don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And who do we meet but Howard Stark? And Tony is just going to be just like him. It's because he's so to a point, he is what he boasts about. Like, he can make a flying car.
Yeah.
Well, it is for a little bit.
He goes, well, that's why it's a prototype. He makes a prototype of a flying car, and it
in
blows
1942
up on stage.
So, like, he can back up his bravado.
Yeah.
Because he is, a genius for the time. So it's fun to be introduced to him so early.
And we see how Steve interacts with women here.
It's so bad.
Because, it's bad.
She offers her, like, peanuts or something.
Yeah, and she just doesn't even talk to him.
They're peanuts.
She's
free
there.
Peanuts.
They went on a double date, Bucky and his girl, and then some girl and Steve. And she just did not care about who he was.
It's
because he wasn't tall.
True.
And he's not in the army. That's also
true. Same thing today. If you're not tall, then just give up, I guess. So then Steve and Bucky talk about why Steve wants to enlist so much. Bucky's like, you're obsessed with this. Like, why do you want to enlist so bad? He's like, I'm not going to do it for me. Like, I want to do it for the men who didn't have a choice. I want to fight for them because...
Well, I think his dad was in the 107th, 106th, whichever infantry he was trying to get into.
Okay.
That's what his father was in. So he wanted to enlist and join in the exact same section that his dad was. It's interesting. He doesn't want to fight for himself for the glory. He wants to fight for other people because he generally cares about other people. And it's a good thing that not Dr. Zola, but I have his name, Dr. Eckstein. One of those two.
He overhears this conversation. He's like, well, it's a good thing I'm working on a super soldier. I'm working on a super soldier serum.
At the World Fair, there's another chance for them to enlist, and he goes underneath the fifth name.
And then the doctor calls him in. He's like, what should I call you? Like, this name or this name? And where are you from? Like, here. And
Steve thinks he's going to jail. I mean, it's 100% illegal to put the wrong name.
And then so the doctor asks him a couple of questions because he's gonna involve, if he answers correctly, he's gonna involve him in this experiment. And Steve's like, is this a test? And he's like, yeah. And so I think one of the bigger questions he asks him is if Steve wants to kill, and he says, no, I generally don't want to kill. He says, I don't like bullies. Which is kind of funny because Steve's about to kill a lot of Nazis.
It's a great line.
Yeah.
Like, why do you want to be in the military? Well, I don't like, not to kill, I don't like bullies. And the biggest bully is across
Nazis.
the seas. So, yeah. That's a really cool, just piece of the show that they added.
That's what I'm going to probably say it again as we watch the Marvel movies. There is so many tiny details that build up the characters so that we're so familiar with them by the time that the bigger movies come that we're emotionally invested in them.
Yeah.
Because we know these characters so much because of these little details that are given to this. And then it cuts back to Red Skull and Dr. Zola. So Schmidt and Dr. Zola, they're working on and harnessing the power of the Tesseract. And I don't think they make advancements yet, but they push their machinery to its limit to harness the power.
But it does stabilize. So they are starting to create power from this Tesseract.
Which is not
what
good.
We know as the Tesseract.
Because they can put that power wherever they want.
Yeah, and we find that they do that.
And then one of the best parts of this movie is that they go back to the training scene for the Army. We meet Peggy Rogers, played by Haley Atwell, and I think her character is established super quickly when the idiot in the Army, like, he's just like being like super sexist to her, and she just punches him, and she's like, nah, enough of that. And I'm like, she's like, so many things happen there. She's like, she's strong, she's independent, she's fiery, she's not gonna take crap from anybody. She's like all these things, and this is one little scene.
I mean, like you said, it really develops her character of who she is, why she's there, what she stands for. Because,
think of the I mean, it's a movie, obviously, but think of this time, right? 1942, women are, in society, are not as, I guess, seen as...
In leadership positions.
Right.
And she is above all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're in training camp.
And then Tommy Lee Jones shows up. Is he a general? Is he a captain?
I think he's a general because,
and then the line that you liked, I remember, is he has a quote from General Patton where he's like, wars are not won with weapons, but by great men. And he's like, and that's how we were going to win this war. With great men. And he looks over to Steve and he's like,
directly at Steve.
And Steve's like a foot shorter than like everybody else. And it's like, oh man, he just called him out right in front of everybody.
But then they do the run and they push them.
Steve kind of sucks at training.
Oh, he's so bad. He gets stuck in the mud.
He also gets bullied though too. Because like he kicks the board and like the thing falls.
Right, before that, he's climbing up the rope ladder and he falls backwards.
His leg gets caught in the... Ooh.
How do you fall backwards on a rope ladder? What I would do is I'd fall forwards, lose my grip, and then smash my face on every single rung of the ropes. He somehow fell backwards and his leg got stuck.
Either one doesn't sound fun.
No, I mean, none of it sounds fun, but I just don't understand how he does it.
He's so bad he defies physics.
And then the running scene. So when they have him go for a long run, and halfway through the run, they come across a flag, and he said, if you guys can get up there, get me the flag down, you can have a ride in the back of the truck on the way back. And everybody tries to do it, and Steve's standing in the background just looking.
So they try to like literally like heave themselves, like, so a metal pole, and they like try to grip it and like scooch their way up, like with their legs and their arms, so that they try to use their brawn.
And then Steve walks over as he's being yelled at to get back in line because he never fucking moved. He never moved from the area that they started in. He pulled the pin out. The entire flagpole came falling down. He walked over, unhooked it, and gave him the flag, and then got in the back of the truck, which was just the total boss move of being like, "Yep, here you go. All right, I'm gonna sit in this truck now."
It's another little detail to where it goes like, well, Steve is super, like, he's going to be a super strong character. He's not all brawn. He's also, he understands other stuff like his smarts and like how to think your way out of
strategy.
Not to fight your way out of a situation always, but to think your way out of one.
Yeah.
We don't see it so much in this one. He's going to do a lot of fighting in this one.
A lot of punching Adolf Hitler.
Yeah, in the face. And then the grenade scene, which is very good. Where Tommy Lee Jones' character, he throws a grenade, and it's a dummy grenade.
Well, he's talking to the doctor.
Right, about who to pick.
He goes, we need somebody who's not just smart, but we need somebody who's brave.
Right.
And he throws the grenade out there, and everybody runs. Steve then jumps on top of it and is like, go away, get away. As he's willing to sacrifice his life for others.
Right. And something I didn't notice until watching it this last time, Peggy actually runs to the grenade too, but Steve's closer, so he jumps on it first. And then it cuts back to Tommy Lee Jones, and he's like, he's still skinny. I forgot how funny he was in this movie. He has a lot of lines in this where he's just like, he's the stereotypical like gruff, mean old general commander, but he's like, some of his lines are great.
Yeah.
So that night, in the doctor's mind, it's pretty well made up that Steve's the choice. But he has one last talk with the doctor and Steve about the super soldier serum and how it will enhance the personality. And that is a scene that we're gonna
before this, he's talking about Schmidt and how he used to work, because the doctor is German,
right?
And we're fighting Germany, so it's one of those where it's like, I do trust you, but like, why are you here and where are you from?
Yeah.
And the doctor explains himself. He says that Schmidt and him were partners, and he was working on the serum, but Schmidt wanted it right then and there to become the best, most strong superhuman ever. But it wasn't ready. Schmidt didn't want to wait, so he injected himself with all the stuff.
With like a proto-serum.
Yeah.
Like a pre-serum that wasn't ready.
But Schmidt believes that it was the best serum, the one that gave him his power, and he didn't need his humanity. So he explains that it helps create the superhuman, and then we have a video or a volume for you guys.
Man, the serum amplifies everything that is inside, so good becomes great, bad becomes worse. This is why you were chosen. Because a strong man who has known power all his life may lose respect for that power, but a weak man knows the value of strength and knows compassion.
Thanks, I think.
So then right after that, he gets out drinks.
Yeah.
and
Steve goes to sip. And the doctor's like, you have a procedure tomorrow.
So yeah, he pours him a drink, and then they have like this really heart-to-heart conversation, and Steve's about to drink, and he goes, whoa, what are you doing? You have a procedure tomorrow. I don't have a procedure. I'm
going to drink all of it. And then there's a kind of sums up that it's a perfect line. He's like, he wants Steve to be not a perfect soldier, but a good man. And that's exactly what Steve's going to be. And that's exactly who the serum should go into. It's not a person who knows how to kill. It's a person who knows
how to
the value of life.
Yeah. And it like he said, I don't know if he said it there earlier than that. He said it takes whatever you are and amplifies it. So if you're a bad person, it makes you worse. If you're a good person, it makes you better.
So then Hans obviously wasn't a great dude beforehand.
Yeah.
And then so next day of the experiment, Rogers is put into this like test tube thing.
It's scary. It's a giant coffin made of metal.
And it's like these things that inject into him, all the serum and stuff. And so the doctor's there, Howard Stark's there,
and a bunch of
Peggy's there.
A bunch of like high-ranking officials, like marshals and senators.
And the general's there.
Yes.
So it happens, and they get to like 70%, I think, and then Steve starts to like scream and yell because it's probably pretty painful, and they
almost turn it off.
I think
I think it's Peggy.
Peggy yells to turn it off.
Yeah.
Which she likes him. That's how we get the first inkling that she's like, oh, she likes him.
Well, yeah. So in the car ride over.
Oh yeah.
He's explaining that he's not good at talking to women or even like. He
calls women's Danes, and he's like, oh no.
And
he's like, she's like, you don't talk to very many women, do you? He's like, this is the longest conversation I've had.
And he explains that he's been waiting for the right dance partner, so that like shows up again throughout the show, that
Yeah, the right partner.
Yeah. It makes the big difference.
But so as they're about to turn it off, after Howard's about to turn it off, and then Steve yells, "No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take this," and he does. It opens up, and it's not shredded, but Chris Evans' workout routine, dude, he's buff as hell.
He's a big man.
And
I mean,
somehow,
just the juxtaposition of
him
being small to when he comes out is crazy.
Oh yeah, and like everybody walks down to him and looks at him, and Peggy, stop thinking those thoughts, because like when Peggy goes up to him and looks at him, she's like, "Oh my goodness."
Yeah, no, I mean, he's just a big man now. He's huge.
And somehow, freaking Nazi spy gets in there, and he leaves the bomb up in the observation deck where nobody's at anymore. I guess it was just like a distraction
because he stole the last.
Yes, so that we know of at this point. We think it's the last one until way down the line. Way down the line.
Yeah, we think it's the last one, and
he takes it, blows up the thing, and then he shoots the doctor. And it's like, you didn't need to do that. Well, no, maybe it was possibly one of his missions, though, because they didn't want him alive to create more super soldiers.
Like, he has this huge heart-to-heart with Steve the night before, and now he's just dead.
So the doctor's dead, lying on the ground, and he, like, reaches up to Steve, and he touches his heart, and, like, on Steve's chest, and then he dies. And then... So while Peggy is shooting at this spy who's like leaving, she like snipes one of them.
Oh yeah, no, she is a killer shot.
With I don't know what pistol it was, but they're driving away, and it's like easily 60 feet away in a car, and she headshots one of them.
And then she couldn't hit the other one at all.
Driving towards her. He was like doing a little bit of head bobbing and stuff though.
Yeah. And then Steve saves her. And she said, I don't need saving. He's like, sorry. And like he doesn't know how to use his body yet, which is hilarious. He's huge.
he's and he knows, like you said, he knows these streets. So
yeah.
I think it's plausible.
It explains, like on the car ride over, he's like, oh, I got beat up in that alley.
Yeah.
Oh, in that alley, and behind that store.
So I think it's completely plausible with this new. He can run really fast now, and he knows these streets. So I think it's completely plausible that he catches up to this car.
Yeah.
And like he's turning a corner real quick, and he can't turn the corner, so he slips and he falls into like a store and like breaks the front window. He's like, sorry, because he doesn't have control of like his balances or his new.
I mean, he just had a giant
super body
procedure.
He gets him.
Yeah.
Well, first the guy chucks a kid into the river or into the harbor.
Yeah. No, he would have killed the kid. He grabbed a kid as insurance, and he was going to kill him.
And that gives another little thing. Steve stops immediately.
Yeah.
Like, he stops chasing the guy because
the guy would have killed him, though.
Yeah.
He pulled the trigger, and he didn't realize that his clip was empty, though.
So Steve could have died right then and there.
No movies. It's over.
But when somebody's in danger, Steve plays the ball game completely differently.
Yeah.
He will... make sure that this person is safe. And then the kid gets thrown in the river, and Steve, instead of chasing after the guy, he goes to the kid to make sure he's all right. The kid's like, I can swim, go get him. And then
we get an underwater scene, which is really crazy.
Yeah,
he catches up to a submarine.
Yeah.
Or an underwater
like
craft.
Whatever that was. I don't even know what that was.
It's like a water jet. It's a jet that goes underwater.
And...
He catches up.
He swims to it. He just punches the glass, and he gets the guy out. And I can't remember what
throws him up onto the
They're both in
shore.
water.
Yeah.
And to throw somebody, to be both in water and to like throw an object, no matter what it is hard because you have drag from water. But that doesn't matter. And like 10 feet above him, Steve just throws him up there.
From the water onto the pier, which is very high, and then Steve gets up out of the water on a ladder.
He's gonna beat the crap out of him.
Yeah.
I can't remember what he says though. Oh, he says cutting off one head will only grow two more. Hail Hydra, and then he
bites
hits
down on
a
a
cyanide pill.
tooth. Bites on a cyanide tooth.
Tooth.
Because they always I don't know if they actually did it, but
Probably
in
was
a
a
lot of
thing.
shows they pop a tooth out and then put a cyanide capsule up in the tooth so you can pop it and then crunch down on it and it'll explode in your mouth and die.
I don't
That
know
way
about
you can't give away secrets.
right. I don't know about teeth so much, but I know there were a lot of pills with like
Well, I don't know if this is right or not. I could be wrong. The people who killed Prince Ferdinand, or is that who it was? Prince Ferdinand who started World War II?
oh, Franz Ferdinand.
Franz Ferdinand. Yeah, close enough. They were supposed to take cyanide pills.
Oh, yeah?
And all their cyanide pills were bad.
Oh.
So none of them died. One of them jumped off a bridge, broke both of his legs, and almost drowned in a river.
Yeah, no, it seems crazy, but it's a very real thing. Like, well, in World War II with like Japanese fighter pilots,
Yeah.
they took poison. I don't know if it was cyanide, but they were going to go get in a plane. They took poison, got in a plane, and then they went and crashed their plane into our battleships.
Yeah.
Which it's crazy to think about, but yeah, no, these are real things that happened.
It brought them honor.
Yeah,
It brought honor to their entire family when they did that.
commit seppuku.
Seppuku.
Or no, that's the one with the sword.
Yeah, that is a sword. It's just
Yeah, to kill yourself for your army was a huge thing, which was crazy.
I wouldn't do it.
No,
I mean, if I was in a battle, like fighting in the army, I would fight to my death, but I wouldn't
kill myself for my army.
Yeah.
Then we cut back to Red Skull, and he has laser weapons.
Oh yeah, he's straight up has used the Tesseract now. It is throughout all of his pistols, all of his machine guns, and
So
his
like
tanks.
these Nazi generals come up and they're talking about, the Fuhrer is very upset with you. You're not, and then the Fuhrer is obviously Hitler.
Yeah.
And he's like, he was happy with you in the beginning, but now you're not giving us results. So we're gonna, and then he just zaps him.
He's like, you want to see results?
He just zaps them
And
away.
destroys all of them.
And then I forgot this. He declares, I thought Hydra was always a part of the Nazis. In this scene here, he declares themselves separate from the Nazis.
Because he wants to take over more than just,
What Hitler is.
Yeah. he wants to take over the world.
And yeah, so did the Nazis though.
Well, they wanted to go one country at a time. He was going to
Yeah.
go the entire world at once.
Right. Yeah, right, because they ask him what's his first target, and he's like, everywhere.
All of them.
You see, like Berlin's on the map too.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, this guy's nuts. This guy's nuts.
He's a little more crazy than we expected.
So Steve finally gets in the army. But so like imagine your whole life you wanted to get into the army and you finally do because of this crazy super soldier serum.
Now he's a
And
captain.
it took the sacrifice of a beloved friend. And now you're an act, you're a show.
Well, the reason he's a show is because he made the newspaper.
Right.
His first time out doing
Oh,
anything,
and he used a shield.
he used the shield
Because you ripped the door off of
with
off a
star
car.
on it.
And he like used it to deflect the bullets that the guy was shooting at him. So it's like, I get it.
Has a shield. He's America's shield.
So the whole like it becomes propaganda for the war. Where it's like, look at us, we got this guy.
He starts selling bonds,
Yes,
and he says that every state he goes to, there is a 45% raise in bond purchases.
for the war.
Yeah, which gave the money for bullets and food and ammo.
Scraps of metal, everything.
Yeah,
Um,
which is really cool.
yeah, I mean, no, that
Good
was
for him.
it's a. I don't know if it's
It's
a
a
detail.
needed job, but it's not one that he wanted.
Right. I don't know if it's a detail to real life, but it was incredibly crucial in the war. Like women and children back home, just like kids just walking around and picking up metal that could be smelted down to make armor. Like that was incredibly important. The fact that like it was a lot of women that welded planes, battleships together. Like I can't remember what it was, but how much we produced in that war was like, it was staggering, like way more than other countries just because of our workforce and our materials. But yeah, it might be a good nod, but yeah, he goes out and shows and he gives speeches. He punches actors that are Hitler, which I didn't notice that for the longest time that you see the comic book.
Yeah.
That the first Captain America where he's punching Hitler on the cover of it, which is hilarious.
So it's in the movie, it's a nod to the actual comics, which is really awesome. And then he gets thrown into the front lines.
Yes.
He's doing shows for the Army guys now. And they just lost all of their friends.
Yeah.
It was like...
the entire 107th was captured.
Captured or killed, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was worried...
He's like 107th.
Or 106th. Whichever one he's looking for, you know?
Bucky. He's like, is he alive? And then it seems cold-hearted, but the general makes a pretty solid point. It's the same reason that a movie like Saving Private Ryan is totally fiction. You wouldn't risk more men to save men that are possibly dead. It's cold, but it's strategic in war. Because it sounds tough, but men are a resource also.
Yeah, manpower
and you can't risk it in a war that it was close as that one.
Which really sucks.
Yeah. And then Steve and Peggy are like, screw that noise. We're going to go get him.
Well, he asks him about Bucky, and he goes, I don't know, but that name sounds familiar. I've been writing morning letters all day.
God, that would be suck as a general to write letters to all these people that have died over and over and over again.
That's like half your job, I swear. Because you train these guys, and they all die.
Yeah. It might have... I don't know. We're probably reading too much into it for this old general, but it might be a reason why that stereotype is like a thing. The old, like, gruff, stern, cold-hearted general. It's because, well, if I form attachments, all these kids are gonna die. So
he needs to train them to do the job, or they will die.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then Steve decides that he wants to go save them, and nobody else will join him because it's against orders. And I think, isn't that when he says his line? He's like, well, I'm a captain. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
And Peggy contacts, I love it that Howard Stark comes back. And we find out that Howard Stark not only owns his own plane, but he's like one of the better pilots.
He's the best civilian pilot
that the U.S. has. And so they fly behind enemy lines, which is, we see, incredibly dangerous because there's AA fire, anti-aircraft fire, that are just bombs being shot up at them. And it's like, one of those are going to kill everybody.
We find out that, what is his name? Harvey? What is Stark's first name? Henry? Well, whatever. He and Steve's girl go and have fondue together. And Steve doesn't know what that is, so he assumes it's a sexual thing. And he gets really upset.
Howard, yeah.
So
yeah, he doesn't know what fondue is. Or fonduing.
Yeah.
It's a dessert.
Yeah. Oh, it's a bunch of cheese.
Yeah. And then, so Howard, I remember Howard tells him that. He's like, yeah, man, it's just food. He's like, that's I love the line where he's like, as soon as you think you figure out what a girl's thinking, that's when your goose is thoroughly cooked.
Yeah, so Steve doesn't want them to get hurt.
Right.
So he jumps out of the airplane by himself with AA going off.
Oh, yeah.
Anti-aircraft going off. He just jumps out.
One of those, he's dead. And he gets in there. Like, he gets into a base. And
yeah. And he takes the shield.
Right.
And
it's not the circular shield. It's like
it's this prop shield that he uses every single. It's just made of metal.
Yeah, just regular like steel or something.
So bullets go straight through.
It's like, I don't know what the shape. It's like kind of a.
It's like a crest.
Yeah.
Like a shield crest.
Yeah, kind of like almost like a medieval knight sort of thing. But it's not as bulky, I guess. So he goes in there with that, and
he does like a covert op, super secretive, kill who needs to be killed and get out.
Yeah. And he finds his boys. He finds Buck. Well, he doesn't find Bucky
Not yet.
immediately.
Right.
But he finds the guys, and I love it. They just start breaking out, blowing stuff up. They get into one of the new laser tanks, and they start blowing stuff up. Don't take any of this back, guys. Just start blowing it up.
That is so bad. Like, when they have the machine guns that are just the lasers, because you incinerate these people.
Vaporize them, dude.
They no longer exist.
Like, it's not even their clothes. Like, it's just maybe the gun falls, but like the person and the clothes are gone.
It's a blue mist.
And you get a hint to it though, where it's like the old man in the very beginning, he tells Schmidt where it's like it's power not meant for us.
Yeah.
So it's it shows us when it makes contact with us, gone. So then Steve
goes and tries to find Bucky.
Yes.
And he finds him, and Bucky's repeating a set of numbers.
Mason, what are the numbers?
Which is never good.
No.
When somebody, no, it's not good. We know because we've seen more movies, but at this point, you're like, uh-oh.
He's brainwashed.
Why is he saying numbers? And then as he gets him out, they come across Schmidt, right? Am I in the wrong spot?
Yes.
Okay. I thought so.
And Bucky can't really do much to fight because he's been tortured and brainwashed, so he's kind of out of it. And Zola he's like
running.
Packing things up and he's running away. And this is Schmidt hit self-destruct on the whole base.
He sees it, he's there, he goes, 2 minutes. He clicks all the buttons.
So before getting his stuff, he hits self-destruct first and then gets his stuff. Maybe it's a mistake in the movie, or maybe it's a hint of just this guy's nuts. This guy's nuts.
Does not care.
He
is a super soldier.
Yeah,
so
and he finally reveals his face. He takes off his makeup face, and it's like he has no nose. His entire head is red.
His ears are gone.
Yeah.
So it's just his skull.
Basically, it's like a base layer of flesh that's red.
Yeah, it's got to be like melted skin.
To his, because you see his cheekbones, and it's barely any, if it's flesh at all, left.
Yeah.
And Steve and him get into a fight, and Steve's like, "Oh crap, this guy's strong," because
he dents the shield that Steve brought in. So just a steel shield, this guy dents with a fist.
And then probably because Zola wants to get the hell out of there, he hits a button that separates them two. Because I'm pretty sure that Red Skull would have just died there because he was just fighting Steve. Because he doesn't care.
Well, Red Skull is a lot stronger than Steve at this point because Steve was trying to save Bucky as well as figure out how to get out of there.
Right.
While Red Skull knew a way out.
He's just trying to kill him.
And he's trying to kill him. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no. You're always... It's... With any fight you see in a lot of these superhero movies, you see if the good guy's not quite on his A game and the bad guy is trying to kill them, then the bad guy will usually win. Yeah.
Just never good for us as the watcher. It's never good.
But Steve and Bucky barely make it out before the thing goes boom. And we cut back to the base, and the general he's in a toughie.
So mad.
He's like, Peggy, you told him you did this. You lost all my men. He's like, now I gotta tell like Washington that their favorite like
lost a super soldier.
he's like, and then there's some commotion out there. He's like, what's happening? And then there comes the whole 107th with like big laser tanks and laser weapons.
They brought back the best like armory that they could, and so. Not only did he go in one man and bring back 100 and whatever, he did it without orders.
Yeah.
So he then goes and talks to the general, and he's like, ta-da!
And he's like, I'm ready to face, any punishment that you have for me. He's like, that won't be necessary. But then since Steve went to this base and he got a bunch of information, they finally bring him in.
He 100% knows exactly where all of the armor, like all of the gun distributors are.
Yeah. So now finally Steve gets to help plan stuff out. And they're like, you know what? We should probably get this guy an actual shield now. And
they also wanted to get him a team. And he goes, oh, I got that covered. Yeah. Don't worry.
These guys, I got them.
The first people he met in the prison, he's like, these guys are good.
Obviously Bucky. And then
I don't
Some
know
of the
any other
107th.
ones, but yeah.
Some dude with a pretty cool
Dude,
mustache.
his mustache is so cool. Like, mustache and boulder hat. Boulder?
Yeah, one of those.
Whatever the evil guys normally wear, you know?
So he has a bunch of Howard Stark shows him a bunch of prototype shields, and Steve, for some reason or another, his eyes drawn to this circular one there. He's like, "Ooh, hey, what's this one made out of?" He's like, no, you don't want that one. It's just a prototype." And he's like, and plus, all the metal we have of it is right there.
No, yeah, he said it's the vibranium, and that's all the metal we have. And he goes, "Sweet, thanks." He takes this precious material and he uses all of it.
So, and right before then, so more and more people are starting to know how famous Steve is. And like this one secretary girl makes out with him, and Steve is super uncomfortable. Like he doesn't want to do it.
Well, he thinks that Peggy is fonduing
Right.
Henry, whatever his name
Howard.
is. Howard. It's close enough. Yeah. So they're fonduing, and he doesn't know what that is, so he assumes it's a sexual thing. So he's like, "Well, she's already taken, so I might as well." And then he starts making out with the secretary lady, and Peggy walks over.
And then Peggy sees him, and then a little bit later that shield thing happens, and then Steve's like, "Hey, what do you think?" She picks up a gun and shoots it.
She didn't know that it would stop him.
And she's like, "Yeah, I guess so." And then Howard and Steve look at each other like, "You women are crazy."
Isn't that when Howard says
the goose is cooked?
Yeah.
When you know what a woman's thinking.
And that's also when he explains what fondue is.
Yes.
He said, "Why is she so mad? Aren't you guys fonduing or something?"
It's a cheese, bruh.
Come on, man.
So he gets the shield, red, white, and blue shield. He gets his suit, his first suit, which it's like a World War II Captain America suit, and it looks dope.
Is that not the same suit that he has all the time up until Civil?
No, he gets new ones, and which I personally think, they like the one in Avengers. I think it's classic, but it looks a little worse than his one, in this one.
Yeah, I really like his suit in this one. It's it has leather, so it's red, white, and blue and brown with certain straps, which always looks really cool.
And there's a scene of him holding the shield, and he has a 1911 pistol shooting while he has the suit. It's a great scene with his team bust, and then it's kind of like a montage of them beating up on Nazis at
Well, you told me that he chose his throwing stance.
Oh yeah.
They gave him the shield, and they're like, "How do you think Captain America would throw this?" Because in the comic books, you never really see how he stands to throw it.
Right. So you can animate something easy. You can draw something easy of how Captain America would throw his shield.
But doing it as a person would be more difficult.
So they gave a rubber version of it to Chris Evans, and they just kind of let him play around with it for a while, and he got his stance of how to throw it. And there are obviously scenes where, so there's 3 shields made for it. There's a rubber shield that he could actually throw and hit people with, or hit people with it and bounce off them. There was a metal shield that could take some stuff, like if something needed to be thrown towards them or something.
Like falling debris and such.
Yeah. And then there was a CGI shield that if he would throw to people really long distances, or when it's bouncing off of stuff, that's when it would be used. And the comic book explanation of how Steve gets so good at bouncing his shield off of things is, he says it's just practice. I do it a lot.
It makes sense. I mean,
it's all math. It's all geometry, I guess.
Bouncing and not coordinates, but coordination. And
yeah.
Yeah.
So then we get to the train.
Yes.
With Steve and his team, and we meet some.
First of all, I just want to talk about. I don't know where you're gonna go. Where are you gonna start? I'll talk.
I was gonna talk about the soldiers within the.
Okay,
train.
I'm talking about the train at first.
They needed to start.
They're gunning it. They are gunning this train, and they're like, "All right, we have this 15-second window." They're not going fast enough on this zip line to catch up to a speeding train. They needed
to go down a couple seconds before they thought.
They waited for the train to go past before they started.
Yeah, you needed to.
They had to go before the train in order to even hit the back of it.
Yeah.
So just that part to me was like,
What?
Okay, hold on a second. How are you going that fast on a zip line?
Little nitpick there. So they get on there, and some of the now these soldiers, these not these Hydra soldiers. They know who they're dealing with, so they have upgraded armor. They have flamethrowers, and now they have machine gun, laser guns and stuff.
They also set a trap because there was nobody on the train until Cap and Bucky got separated.
They locked Bucky and Cap in separate rooms or
compartments.
Yeah, and so they had to fight. They couldn't fight together. They had to fight alone.
Dude, Bucky was fighting 8 guys all by himself
with a little machine gun.
Yeah.
With a regular machine gun.
He was so screwed.
But he did it.
Yeah.
And then they do finally at the end there, they break a door open and they can finally work together. And then Bucky picks up the shield, which is going to be kind of fun later.
Yeah.
But so he picks up the shield because this guy's about to shoot a rocket at him. And so the shield, obviously takes no damage, and he drops it onto the train. But the force hits Bucky. Bucky falls off the train, and it falls a really, really far down.
Really, really far. And that's when it then cuts to them having Zoltan, right? Or what's his name?
Zola.
Same thing. Zola. Because,
he's in the front of the train. Yeah.
And if he'd beaten everybody up until then, he's probably going to and especially after losing his friend. So,
yeah.
Zola, I keep saying Zoltan. I don't even know what that's from. Zola, he is in jail now. And the general walks in, gives him a steak dinner,
steak, corn,
delicious
milk.
Potatoes?
Dude, to get that food out into an army base, he wasn't lying. That was probably a hard thing to do.
And he didn't want it.
He says he's a vegetarian. He doesn't eat meat. And I'm like, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. And he's also like, I don't know if he poisoned it or not. Then the general spins it around and starts eating it himself as he's explaining.
I love that. He's like, yeah, I got a theory. He's like, you didn't have a cyanide pill. So yeah, my little theory is you want to live. And he was probably true. Schmidt was probably going to kill the doctor after he was done with him.
100%. And then especially, he told him that he had written a coded letter to Washington saying that they're sending him off this way. And he's like, well, it'd be really awkward if you guys had figured out the codes, which they had. Because that's why he was like, oh, don't do that.
Which, he knew our code?
Yes. Yeah, he said, well, I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was to the point don't actually send me there. Because he said, we have the plan to send you to Switzerland.
Yeah, I thought the deal was if
they're not actually going to send him to Switzerland.
They're just going to keep him in the U.S. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And that way, Schmidt would send people to Switzerland to kill this guy who's not there.
I see.
That way they could get more of the Hydra soldiers.
Unless he cracked her code, which would be kind of awkward.
Yeah, which they 100% did.
Then
they find the actual main base.
Right. Where some big stuff's going to go down. They don't know exactly what it is, but they know that there's targets for something all over the world, and they have to stop it, or else the whole world's going to die.
Yeah, that's
kind of downer.
Big stakes.
Kind of a downer. But then in a destroyed, it cuts to Peggy walking around destroyed, I don't know what town it is, Poland, France, Britain, probably not Britain, one of these towns, just completely destroyed by war. And Steve's sitting in a bar, and he's drinking, and he's like, my metabolism is so high that I can't get drunk.
He's super depressed because he just lost his best friend.
Lost Bucky. Within a couple of months, he lost a father figure, and then he lost his best friend. It's like, ooh.
Yeah. Not good for him.
Can't even get drunk. Because it works. His system just
It works 4 times faster. Yeah. So then he gets his new orders to go and find Red Skull.
in this big thing, and he's like, hell yeah, let's go do it. Let's do it for Bucky. Let's do it for everybody that's sacrificed. And I love it that even the old general gets in this mission. He's like, he wants to go in there, and they're all killing Hydra members. And we forgot to mention how stupid their sign is. Like when they say "Hail Hydra."
Oh yeah, they like, it's like Superman. They throw both arms out.
It's like it's at an angle. It's like kind of like the Nazi angle.
Yeah. For
the salute, but it's 2 hands that are fists up in the air. It looks so stupid.
And they just keep yelling it over and over again.
So they like bust into this base. They're killing Hydra soldiers. They're the plan is for Steve to get captured so he can be taken directly to Schmidt. And then we hear that line again where he's like, I can do this all day, when he's getting beaten up by Schmidt. And he's like, what makes you so special? He's like, nothing. I'm just a kid from Brooklyn. And that answer pisses him off. And he's
so upset.
He's like, because he's a Nazi, so he probably hates America. So he probably hates like the American confidence that Steve presents. So he's probably pissed off at him, and he's mad that he's not scared, of me, that you're. Well,
Steve hates bullies, and this guy is really just
the biggest,
beating people up because they're smaller than him.
So then Steve breaks out of like the soldiers that are holding him there. Then he gets into a fight with Schmidt, and
Schmidt gets into a plane, right?
Yes, and somehow Steve gets separated from him. I can't remember exactly how.
Probably a fight.
Yeah. And then the general and Peggy show up in the what type of car?
It's just a Hydra car.
Yeah.
It's so fast.
It looks cool if it wasn't for the Hydra stuff.
Yeah. It'd be a pretty cool car if it wasn't for all the Nazi
stuff. Why'd they have to have such cool stuff? But it had to be Nazis.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it goes super fast. Like it catches up to this plane.
This jet that's about to take off, like a super jet.
And Steve, he's like getting up and he's about to jump in this plane, and then Peggy's like, wait, they have smooch. And it's like, oh,
the first kiss.
They finally have their moment. And then Steve looks at the jet and he's like, I'm not kissing you. And then like it's right as like they're about to run out of road.
Yeah.
And so like Steve jumps, and then they have to like turn to where like they skid to a stop, and then they see Steve get into the plane, and Steve's looking around the cargo, and it's kind of stupid that they mark it.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
But it's for dramatic effect.
There's giant bombs with New York and Chicago written on them.
They wouldn't label those, but it's for us to like, oh crap, these bombs are going to places that we know. And then I think Schmidt's the only one on this plane.
No, there's a bunch of soldiers on it, because that's who's going to pilot these bombs.
Right.
Because I think they're going to do suicide bombing, like big giant bombs.
It looks like it.
And so what happens is Cap destroys the first one, gets it out of there before anybody gets in it to drive, and he throws it into the ocean. Second one, somebody gets in it, starts taking off. He
jumps on them.
That just racks my brain. He just jumps on this flying aircraft, breaks into it.
He has a signature move. He just punches the thing, pulls the guy out, and then
he hit eject. He not only because that saved that guy's life. He hit the eject button so the guy didn't die.
Oh.
And then he took over piloting,
and that's how he gets back into the plane.
He crashes the bomb into the plane.
I'm like, that's what I said. I was like, wait, is this thing a bomb? Wouldn't he just explode the plane? I don't know. Maybe it was on a timer or something.
But he gets out and he gets onto the big plane, and he has a big fight with Red Skull.
Yes.
Where they're throwing each other across.
He's shooting at him with the gun. Steve's blocking it. He's throwing the shield.
He hits the guidance system, and it starts nose diving. So they're fighting in midair, and all this really, really cool fight scene.
that is damaged
Yes.
somewhat until he puts it on autopilot, but there wasn't probably a whole lot more you could do. So they has fight a little bit, and
well, what happens is the Tesseract gets unstable.
yes, because
With
one
all
of
the fighting.
them gets thrown into it.
It gets unstable, and the aircraft loses power.
Yes,
So
And then-
Red Skull grabs the Tesseract
because he's crazy.
because he's absolutely nuts, and then gets evaporated in our eyes so far.
And we know where he goes, but
Well,
it's
I mean,
gonna
we've seen every movie, so
yeah, we know where he goes. It's gonna come much later. We'll see. What's fun because so like at this point, Red Skull's is vaporized, gone.
and Steve,
Steve gets a walkie-talkie or something.
I think he just connects to the headset
on the
that's
plane.
in the plane,
Oh, because they're talking back at the Hydra base, and
and he's telling them everything that's going down. Also, Tesseract just evaporates the plane.
it melted through the plane and wound it up at the bottom of the ocean somewhere. And it's like, oh, we do know who gets it though at the end of the movie.
Howard Stark.
So yeah, that thing of immeasurable power just
It melts through metal, which is nuts.
Nuts.
So what were they holding it in? If it melts through a plane, what were they holding it in? That's what I
don't
want to
know.
know. If it
What
melts
what
through metal,
what held it?
I don't know. It hurts my brain.
Probably something Zola made to like actually contain it.
Yeah.
Because they found ways to contain it and like guns and stuff. I don't know.
So Steve has to explain that he can't control the plane and he's going down.
And I'm in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So it's like
He said if he takes it down now, he'll hit water and nobody will get hurt.
water and ice and
And if he keeps going, he'll crash into New York and people will die.
so like you can see in the background that like the general tells like he signals to like his boys to like walk out of the room so him and Peggy could talk because the general knows this is a one-way trip for Steve. And
It's a really bad ending, dude. It's
they
so
start
sad.
her and Steve start talking about how they're gonna have a date like next week, and he's like, I'd never learned how to dance, and she's like, I'll teach you, and he's like, he goes to say something, and this is, and
It's
then
like I'd really hate to step on your.
and then it cuts out because he crashed, and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, and then we cut to him
Howard.
waking up. He wakes up in the
Or no,
room.
Howard's the after credit scene. Okay.
Yeah, he wakes up in a room, and he hears a baseball game going.
From the 40s.
Yeah, and he
Too
knows
early
it's fake.
because he was at the game.
Yeah, he goes, yeah, I know this is recorded because I was there.
And the girl's like, "Oh no!" So he beats up two people.
No, yeah, he gets really mad, and some guys walk in, and he throws them through the wall.
He runs out the wall, and he runs right into New York City.
Times Square?
Yeah,
Tons of giant TVs.
And
He's never seen this stuff
He's like,
before.
"What the hell is this?"
He gets surrounded by cops, dude.
And then we hear a familiar voice, and Samuel L. Jackson is Nick Fury. He's like, "You've been asleep for a long time, Cap." I think the year, so it was 1945, and he said, "You've been asleep for 70 years."
Would have been 2011. Oh, 2015, but
Yeah. I think that's kind of when the MCU sort of starts, or the present day MCU is when it sort of starts, is 2015. He's like, "Are you all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I just had a date," and I was like, "Oh,
ooh-wee.
ooh."
He might. Oh, dude, what if he thought he went back in time? That'd be crazy.
What?
If Steve was like, "How'd I go back in time?" If they play the wrong baseball game,
Oh,
that'd be nuts. He walks outside and he's 5 years behind.
oh, I got you.
That'd be kind of crazy. He'd have to do it all over again.
Probably.
That's a different movie.
Yeah, I think that's going to be another big problem with this series. I'm going to want to talk about stuff way before it happens.
Yeah.
But so then the after credit scene real quick before we kind of wrap things up here is Howard Stark.
It's back in the past.
Yeah, in a little submarine thing, he picks up the Tesseract.
So they find the Tesseract, and they believe that he had to have been near the Tesseract because it was on the same plane. But we know the Tesseract melted through the plane hundreds of miles because he was still up in the air when it fell.
Yeah.
So they were completely off, and they were looking at the grids. So they were just completely off.
They probably could find. I imagine Howard had like some like energy sensing doohickey.
No, that's 100% why they found the Tesseract, but not the plane.
Yeah. If only they would have stayed together, then they could have found Steve. But that's not how this story is going to unravel. But I mean, overall, it was
the First Avenger.
Yeah. Obviously, I mean, it's kind of weird to talk about because obviously the first movie that I watched when I was younger, I was 8 when Iron Man came out because it was 2008. So that's the first one that I watched because that's the first one that came out. And this is the second one that I watched, I'm pretty sure, like in the order that 2011.
I don't know. I'm not sure. No idea.
It was one of the early ones. But It's cool to watch these over again because it's been a while since I've watched them, and I don't want to say basic. It is kind of simple story.
I mean, yeah, but
simple
it has
black
to
and
be
white
because they're trying to set up this huge universe.
Which I think it makes sense though for the time period in Cap's arc.
Yeah,
it is a simple kind of black and white story, which works because later the whole black and white that Cap sees the world in is going to be changed. So there's nothing wrong with simple. And it works too. The characters are very enjoyable. The setting is, kind of cool historically. Chris Evans absolutely nails Captain America.
Yeah, he is Cap.
Yeah. We're going to see that with a couple other people as these movies go, but these actors, whoever cast them,
great job. You did it. Good job.
Yeah. So I think it's by no means bad, but it's not going to be to the heights that the MCU will go. So for me, it's probably like a 6 or a 7.
Yeah.
Probably a 6.
I was going to say about a 7.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really, really good movie. There's not a whole lot of character building on the bad guy's side.
Right. He is kind of your typical, just like, I'm crazy. I'm a crazy bad guy.
He's the worst bad, like, not like, oh, wow, he sucks, but like the worst kind of person.
Yeah.
And that's the guy that you want to be the bad guy. Right. So, I mean, but it's a simple.
I get what you mean, though. He's not really fleshed out.
Yes. Like, it doesn't really give a reason why he's doing it. It's more just to gain
He's
power.
evil, and he wants to be evil.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd give it a 7. It's a really good superhero film. I mean,
I think it's
one of the couple that started the entire MCU.
It's part of the big 3. It's this one,
the Hulk,
Iron Man. No. We'll get to that one.
Will we? Or we'll just talk about it.
We could. We don't have to do a full one, but we can just talk about it. But yeah, it's this one, it's Iron Man, and it's Thor.
Yeah.
It's gonna be kind of. I don't think that's all of Phase 1, but that's gonna be like our jumping off point into this story. But yeah, I think its biggest strength in this one is just making us like Cap.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of things to like about him, and it's because we get to learn a lot about him. And I think it's
an important factor in any movie, really, to get you to like the main character.
Because if I don't care, then why should I watch?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, overall a very solid movie and a very solid start to, I guess, the series as a whole. I think the next one is it's Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel, yes.
Which that one is set in the 90s, I'm pretty sure.
I have no idea. I've seen it one time and I didn't watch it again. But I don't ever watch any movie twice.
Not the biggest fan, but we'll talk about it there.
I will never watch a movie twice.
But yeah, that'll be the next one, and we look forward to seeing you guys then. Thanks for listening.
If you have any advice or any requests, you can hit us up on our email at silverscreenpod@gmail.com. And thank you for listening. Goodbye.